Here at wcuw, and we have a fantastic guest on the show with us tonight. Hot off of 911 recently, and also from multiple things in his career. And I have been a huge fan of this actor for a long time. We have Brian Thompson on the show with us. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Brian.
You're welcome, and thank you, Zoom.
How was working on 911? That's a pretty popular show.
I was working on 911. It could be the greatest working experience of my life, or top three. The most recent ones, tend to be a little fresher. I've certainly had some beautiful working experiences over the years, but 911 is special because, with you're obviously, but 911 is about redemption and hope. And when you think about, the type of scenes that you're involved with when you're making an action adventure movie or a horror movie, it can be really gritty, really in the horror realm. It can be haunting. 911, you have, flawed characters who are seeking a path of redemption, and everybody, no one is forgotten or labeled as a bad guy and they have to be killed. They're flawed individuals and they're given a path to redemption. And so that spirit of hope and positivity, those storylines, all the storylines permeate into the crew and the cast around you. And so that is the environment that you're working in. It was something really, really, honestly, for me, it was redemptive. For Brian Thompson personally, it was redemptive to know that those storylines are out there, and that the writing was of that quality, that the show had that much hope. It's fantastic. Especially, I've always had such a love and appreciation for first responders. I had a taste of firefighting when I was 17 years old and got out of high school. I worked for a forestry company, and at the end of the summer, we were fighting forest fires alongside for $3.75 an hour. My first day on the job, one of the guys I worked with was killed in a fire. So
Jesus.
We knew how serious what we were doing was for $3.75 an hour. Oy, oy, oy. But anyway, I have so much respect for firefighters, and then to get to portray one, I hope it was done authentically, and it certainly was done authentically with as much of my heart that I could give.
So you must have really wanted to take that role when you were offered it to be on the show, considering what you used to do. You must have been like that. That would be very honoring.
Yeah, well, thank God it happened. It's just remarkable how these things work out. I remember the breakdown. When I say breakdown, is that a common term?
Sure.
For you, for the audience? Well, just in case, because I certainly say breakdowns to a lot of people who don't know what they are. The breakdowns are the way that you get the information for the auditions. They've been going on for 60, 70 years, maybe more. Initially, every agent got handed a sheaf of papers, by noon every day. And then in the 80s, that became fax machine, and then obviously faxes went away to email. But the breakdowns give a short synopsis of the character, the production, who's directing, producers, which is super helpful if it's not a known product. Because if it's a movie and people you haven't worked with before, or people you've never heard of. Anyway, the breakdown said they wanted a Sam Elliott type. I'm like, wow. I'm such a Sam Elliott fan. Old school fire captain, and I know what they wanted. And that's funny, it's interesting, we're doing this interview now. The audition came about this time of year, and I was up here in Oregon. I'm currently on a dead-end road in the middle of the woods, and I didn't have anything that looked like a fireman's outfit. But I called my buddy who runs the wind sports school, and I asked him if he had anything, and he said, yeah, I got a fireman's turnout jacket, a real fireman's turnout jacket, all beat up and probably got donated because it was too old. And I wore that for my audition. Now, when they're looking at audition tapes, in Hollywood, what separates you from the rest of the people? They're going to see a half a dozen people that could pull off the role just fine. Is what separated me my buddy's turnout jacket? We'll never know. But anyway, that's what I remember from my audition for
You can't dress for the part, basically.
Yeah, because most of the audition you're shot from the waist up. So
when we started talking about doing this, I had just seen that Cobra was getting a 4K release, and I was like, "Oh, hey, that's awesome!" Just in time for him to come on the show.
4K Cobra. Yeah. Speaking of parts that will leave you with nightmares. Yeah, that's one of them.
Really?
Sure. Yeah. I was a year out of school, and
This is after Terminator, right?
Yeah, it was the second film after Terminator. I actually filmed the Terminator while I was still in school at the University of California, Irvine, getting a Master of Fine Arts in acting.
Nice.
You know what I had to do in Cobra. I mean, you do everything that somebody who is psycho does, except have the original thought that causes you to do those horrible things. And stage blood's harder to wash off of you than real blood.
It's just funny that it's also funny. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, you get home in the shower, and the shower pan's all red, and these images don't go away. These people that you attacked in make believe, they look just like somebody who's being attacked. I mean, it's haunting.
Does it ever stick with you for very long? I mean, does it? Do you go to therapy to kind of move past it, even though it was just a role? Like, how does it affect you?
Well, it's damaging. I think that it's scary for me because as an actor, you want these people to be real human beings, and you want them to have a basis in reality. When you start justifying organizing a group of people to commit atrocious acts for the justification of a better world, it's a razor's edge. You see how, you look right into the world that makes that possible. And it's a very, very scary place to step over the line. And I've always liked knives, but I have, like when I pick up a knife, since having done that part, there's a different, a butcher knife. There's a different feeling to it. And there sometimes are images that I wish I wouldn't think of. No, you do a part like that. I don't know how you get away from not being haunted by it.
I used to develop police crime scene photos at a photo lab I worked at when I was right out of high school, and I saw some stuff that it took me a long time to get over.
Black and white or color?
No, color. Like, I saw suicides, I saw graphically ugly suicides, and accidents, no murders. That they have somebody they develop those for, because that's like evidence in a case. They can't have it exposed to a civilian.
The photos are up to snuff. You've got to examine them.
Yeah.
Oh God. Well.
Yeah, it was awful stuff that I saw. It took a while for me to get it out of my head.
Well, I'm going to guess right now that as you're telling me the story, that some of those images are flashing. True or false?
A little bit.
True. So you're giving me a true there. Yeah, a little bit. Right. But you're able to, they're not as far forward in the file cabinet as they were back then.
No, I mean, I'm 45 years old now. That I saw those images when I was 18 and 19, and like I said, right out of high school. I had never seen anything like it outside of like a Faces of Death video.
Did you have driver's ed in high school?
I did. I didn't take it though. My stepfather taught me. But I did take motorcycles driver's ed, motorcycle riding lessons.
Did they show those scary movies that show the real accidents in Technicolor?
No, not at the motorcycle school. Only because we did our motorcycle school training was like outside of the rain for the 2 days they had us do it.
Oh God! Oh, so that was more kind of a hands-on. Well, at our driver's ed at our high school, they had some movie, and it was all the kids talked about it. It was called, I don't know, it was called Highway 99 or something like that. And they showed 16 millimeter color footage after accidents, people that weren't paying attention. And I remember there was brains on the ceiling of this one car that had been rear-ended by a semi-truck.
God.
I mean, just nowadays I don't know. They'd have to get special permission from parents to show you that kind of graphic footage, I believe. But back then it was part of driver's ed, and oh my God, that was sobering. It was, and it was effective because most kids in high school haven't seen anything like that. I know that I hadn't. It's back to talking about horror. It's haunting.
Something else that I it was just announced a few months ago, and it won't be out till 26. But I didn't know if you were aware that they have cleaned up the rights with Fright Night Part 2, and it's coming out on 4K.
Really?
Yep,
So, God, another great 4K release.
yep, that's coming out next year. Red Shirt Productions. They do a lot of behind the scenes bonus material and stuff like that. They're the ones handling putting it together with like commentary and things like that. I know Julie Carmen had made a post saying, I have been contacted about Fright Night Part 2. That's all I can say right now.
Well, unlike Julie Carmen, I have not been contacted.
I will have to mention to them they should reach out to you. But I think that was the first thing I ever saw you in. I had no idea who you were, and I was just always like, whoever this muscle is for this vampire is fantastic. He's got like very few lines, and then it was a few years later. It was the on the it was back to back between the Alien Bounty Hunter and the X-Files, and a show that I actually reviewed every episode of, Kindred the Embraced.
You now wait. Did you review every episode of The Kindred or X Files?
Oh, Kindred. No, there were so many other X-File podcasts out there. I do a show called the Dead TV Podcast. We talk about canceled television shows, and Kindred was the very first show we covered. And I have that like this incredible, beautiful red box set. It's got all these cool things in it from the Vampire the Masquerade, game, the LARP or whatever that the show is based on, and a cool little cast photo and stuff like that. But we reviewed every single episode of that individually.
All eight of them.
All eight of them, yeah.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of Vampire the Masquerade. I didn't know a lot about the context of the show, so I was pretty hooked on that when I was a kid and they were on VHS. So it was a fan favorite of mine for canceled TV shows, canceled too soon.
Yeah. Well, it was canceled for good reason, unfortunately. The guy running it, the producer, didn't know what he was doing. He was somebody who had wormed his way into power, and he also was able to give himself the job of writing. And about 3 episodes in, we're in there at one of those conference tables reading the script, and it's like, hey, didn't you say that last week? Yeah. And didn't you say that the week before? Yeah. Oh no. The producer, John Leakley, he was not a writer. He was somebody who got the job. And so he was, trying to repackage what was already there. And there was so much you can do with vampires. My gosh. The plot lines are, especially plot lines, when in power struggles. Gosh, go look at any of the mafia movies, any mafia series, any mafia stories. Plus the ability to live forever. I mean, you can just go on and on. Yeah, it could have, in the right hand, that show could have been out of the park.
Oh yeah, they the box set that came out, CBS put out like this super duper collector's edition. I don't know if you ever saw it. They talk about what could have happened for season 2.
Oh well, yeah, the sky's the limit. It's a fantastic premise. There's nothing. There's about nothing that these people can't do. There's no occupation they can't go after. And golly, they never really even got into, small town politics, let alone state level politics, let alone U.S. government level politics. Have we ever had a vampire in the White House?
If you've ever seen the movie My Best Friend is a Vampire, they even the kid who's turning into a vampire, his Obi-Wan Kenobi vampire sensei tells him that, did you know that one of the presidents of the United States was once a vampire? And he's like, who? It doesn't matter. The point is you're going to meet fascinating people as you're a vampire.
Right. So like I said, I don't know that that's been done. I'm certainly haven't watched every vampire movie out there, but there's
I
just
don't think they've ever done a vampire president before because I think it would be too cheesy. But like the fact that a president never comes out during the daytime, I think would be a kind of a given. kind of problematic. But I guess if he has all his press conferences inside and doesn't go outside or something like that, I guess that would be fine. Or only goes out when it's overcast or something like that. But I guess if it's handled correctly, I think it could make for an interesting movie. But I think people would be worried too much about the camp of it all.
Well, what about modern UV protection?
That's what I mean. Like and even in the original novel Dracula could go out in the daylight.
Yeah, it was, you figure it out. That,
The
that, that was only certain genetic strains of vampires were susceptible to daylight. It's very
correct.
easy to leap past that problem.
It's we also, by the way, covered on that podcast Alien Nation. I know you were on that, but a film that I constantly tell people they need to check out is Dr. Mordred. One of my
Really?
favorite films in terms of fantasy, dark fantasy. I've had Charles Band on the show as well.
That's pretty campy, wouldn't you say?
It is, but it definitely has that Doctor Strange feel to it if you're familiar with that character from Marvel.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'd be familiar.
Any
Yeah.
great stories about Dr. Mordred?
That scene that I was going to do with the naked girl, a very fun scene to film, by the way.
I'm
Um,
sure. Charles
but-
always had good looking actors in his movies.
oh yeah, she was beautiful. He comes up to me and says, "Well, Brian, Julie's going to be completely naked in this scene." Yes, and it's a little, for a ceremony like that, it's a little weird that you're still wearing clothes. So that's weird that one person's naked and another person isn't. I'm not sure I follow that. Well, it would be better if both of you were without clothing, and it's going to be lit in such a way that we're never going to see below your waist. And I'm like, never, ever? He goes, no, it's going to be so dark. I said, you promise? He goes, I absolutely promise. I said, well, then there's not a chance they're going to see the fact that I'm wearing pants. And that was the end of the discussion. But that's really, really, really. After that, he and I did not have much discussions after that. I found it to be really underhanded. That's my Charlie Band story. I think that may have been the longest conversation I had with him.
Hopefully, the rest of the shoot went well.
Absolutely, I'm a fan of Jeffrey Combs. The entire shoot was, getting to work at the Natural History Museum. Come on, what a boyhood dream. That place is so fascinating. You spend weeks in there.
Has there been anything that you've gone out for that you didn't get that you were like, you really wanted?
It's possible that there might be. One of the healthy mechanisms that you develop early on as an actor is to go to an audition and forget about it. I have been able to compartmentalize and rear view mirror auditions once they're over. I've gotten so good at it that when I have been offered jobs, I remember this specifically in the case of Joe Dirt, I could not remember what I had done at the audition. For the life of me, I could not remember what I had done. And so I called the casting director and asked him if I could see a video of my audition, and thankfully he had it and sent it to me. But that's how good. So there might be a part that I was just dying to get. But
you should definitely audition. I would hope, because you played two characters on it and it's coming back, which is kind of surprising, but I always figured it would come back. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is coming back, and you were two characters on Buffy once. Maybe go out, audition, become a third one.
Is Josh involved?
No.
Well, he's a creative marvel.
Right, but he's not going to be involved because of it's now owned by Disney, and he got canceled.
He got canceled?
Yeah, he got canceled pretty bad.
I'm very sorry to hear that. I mean, the Buffy sets were some of the funnest sets I've been on.
The other show that I swear comes up so often, and you were involved for like the last 6 episodes of it, was with John J. York, Werewolf the series, one of the first Fox TV show series.
Oh, yes, I love that part. There's another, like vampires. The sky's the limit. And he was, that's right. Remy was involved in politics,
Yeah,
taking me.
Nicholas Remy. He was the progenitor of the werewolf strain after Scorsese was killed off. John Eric, his character Eric finds out, he's like, "Oh wait, there's another one and it's you." And then they canceled it before they could ever wrap that up.
Well, I heard that the producers got offered a crazy deal to do another series, and that was Walker Texas Ranger.
Really? That sucks.
That they
I mean, that's great for Chuck
well,
Norris, but
it was the highest rated show that Fox had. That was the first year that Fox was a channel, and it was their number one show. So that is wild that it didn't carry forward. But I spent 15 years building this colorful young identity, one entrance line away from the State House. That was one of my lines. Oh my God, that's
from
37
Werewolf.
years ago, and it's still,
It's funny
yeah.
that it's one of those series that it pops up on the streaming services once in a while, but it's had such a hard time getting like a disc released or any kind of like mainstream streaming release because of rights issues with the music with the show. It got canceled twice to get a disc release, and it's still in limbo.
Just because of music rights? What did they pay for some remarkable music? What's the deal?
It's just a matter of old TV shows with music. Charmed had that problem. They had to change a bunch of music on Charmed. Dawson's Creek had that problem. They had to change a bunch of music on that as well. Certain shows have scaped
Well,
by
because
without
the
issues.
rights were only for the TV airing, not supplemental markets,
I think so. Yeah,
not in perpetuity.
yeah. I think it's a matter of like they're just not able to. It's a renegotiation of contracts that just doesn't seem to happen, kind of thing. With Fright Night Part Two, it was about obviously Jose Menendez getting killed, but they seem to straighten everything out now, and like I said, that's getting a disc release next year, so
All obstacles that I haven't had to partake in.
it's probably good.
Yeah, that whole world, boy.
Real quick, we got like 5 minutes left on the Zoom call, Brian. Tell me about something you collect. People love collecting, celebrities' autographs. They probably have collected yours. You probably have done conventions. Do you collect anything?
No, I'm not a collector of things. You know what? I would say that I am a collector of things that have great utility. That is, I have a garage and shipping containers full of tools and construction materials. There's nothing that I haven't done at least once in home construction. I paid for college out of the Carpenters Union. I have what? I've got half a dozen wing foil wings and half a dozen boards and half a dozen paddle boards and half a dozen hydrofoils that attach to the boards. I have 3 sets of golf clubs, but that's just because I hung on to the old ones.
For golf
Collect,
too.
yeah. I guess tools. I would say that I have a lot of tools. I have way more tools than the average person because I hate doing a job unless I have the perfect tool to do it.
How good's your golf game?
I am currently a 13 handicap.
Awesome, dude.
I would and getting to single digits, boy, I would like to know. I would like to see if it could happen, but I don't know. I don't know. I was even par after 5 holes 2 days ago, and then 2 double bogeys in a row. It was like, oh
Awesome.
my, like the best start to a round ever. And then, oh crap! Yeah, darn it. But I really love golf. I really love wing foiling. I have a fantastic relationship with my girlfriend of 26 years. Those 3 things are, I would say, the major 3 things I spend my time at. I'm currently converting a pontoon boat that had an inboard gas engine to a electric engine. It's going to have a solar roof on the cabin, and my goal is that I will never need to transfer fuel to it, that it will charge itself off the sun.
Fantastic. Well, before we let me go, I appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you for coming on the show, giving us a little bit of insight into your life outside of the acting world. Hopefully, we see you in something again. Maybe, like I said, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Hopefully, the Fright Night guys reach out to you sometime in the next year before they put the 4K out of Fright Night Part Two.
Well, it's not on, my IMDb page yet, but I'm also recurring on a on a really successful science fiction show, and my part will be out next season.
Oh, cool. What's the show? Can you say?
I think I can. I didn't have to sign an NDA. I'm on Fallout.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. That's a great show to be on.
It's
Macaulay
un
Culkin's going to be on that too.
it's unbelievable.
Were you a fan of the game?
I knew of the game. I played video games a little bit in the 90s. I had to stop because, what was it? Is it the dopamine you get from playing video games? Something,
Yeah.
whatever that is. Dopamine. Anyway, I went till 2, 3 in the morning sometimes trying to get to the next level. And
Oh
so
my God. Tell me about it.
I just stopped and said, you know what? There will be a time in my life when I'm less mobile, when I do not have the athleticism that I do now. And these games are getting better and better. That's when I'm going to crack the door open on the games. Because my son, has a VR headset, and I was over at his house, and I was just doing a sword fighting thing. I was blown away. I'm
Awesome.
like,
Awesome, Brian. The Zoom call is going to kill us soon. So I'll
okay,
send you an email when this broadcast. Thank you so much for doing this.
okay, Chris, you have a good day and good interview.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'll check it out. You got it. Thanks, Chris. Buenas noches.